What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Meth Pig and Meh. Went to my locals today and I decided to play this deck because I just kind of wanted to have some fun with them, and I guess even though it's the day after Halloween, I wanted to do something with a bit of a spooky vibe to it. So for this part, we're just gonna go through the deck profile and I'll explain things more in depth in a bit. As you can see, the deck was Gren Maju. So as such, you play 3 of your big boy Gren and 3 of his buddy Eater of Millions. And then the actual Heart and the Soul, triple Gizmek. This card is insane. Next, I decided to go with the Golden Castle engine of 3 Hextrude and 1 of the Bird. I only had the 1, so that's why there was just 1 of him. There might be changes to increase that later, but that'll come in time. I also played the Danger package of 3 Bigfoot, 3 Thunderbird, and 2 Ogopogo. They're all level 8 darks. They're really good. Like I said earlier, I maxed out on the Golden Castle in order to special your Hextrude. Next, I played 2 Super Polys to break boards, 3 Trade-In, 3 Allure, 3 Pot of Desires, 1 Upstart Goblin, 1 Card Destruction, and 1 Terraforming, most certainly assured that you were going to dig through your deck as inhumanely as possible, and they worked wonderfully to my benefit and to not help me at all. And to round it out, I played a Foolish, Harpy's Feather Duster, and a Monster Reborn. For the extra deck, I just did these 2 as Link 1s, Verte and Phoenix, and Zeraboros. For my Super Poly stuff, just because the local I was playing at, I played 1 Chimera Tech, actually resolved it, and fun fact, he's a level 8 dark. I played these in case I ever went against Dogmatica, and just these guys are generic. And I actually played some rank 8s. These 2 seem good in theory, and these 2 are the ones you actually use. And I guess I'll just go through the side deck super quick. It was just simply more going second cards. Every single possible bit of back row hate. This card was insane if there's a bunch of stun players in your area. And just this. That's the main extra inside. I'll go into more of the details later, but you can kind of cut off this part of the video. That's all you cared, was to see what's in the deck. Alright, so Gren Maju. What is Gren Maju? Gren Maju is pumping this guy up as insanely huge as possible and then swinging at your opponent for a bunch of damage. Because Gren Maju has the effect that it gains 400 attack for every exiled card. Well, that's kind of easy when the best draw game in Yu-Gi-Oh! Exiles 10 off the top of your deck to begin with, and Allure of Darkness is at 3. Now, when trying to figure out the best ways to pump up him, like crazy, there's a lot of strategies you can do, and a lot of things that I will be trying over time. But the thing that sounded kind of the most efficient to me and utilized essentially another Allure and this stupid card were the Dangers, who all happen to also have the added benefit of breaking boards. I went against Ignoble Knights, which, even though it's a horrible matchup, when he goes Smoke Grenade, looks at your hand and sees 2 monsters that can pop something on this field, they tend to not be very happy about that. But yeah, Allure and Trade-In are insane, because everything that's not Gren Maju or the little birdie is dark. And minus Ogopogo, you max out on all these level 8 monsters, so your trade-in is almost never dead. And this deck absolutely turbos through itself like crazy. And this guy right here, Gizmek, exiling another 8 cards off the top of your deck means that you pretty much don't really go past turn 2 or 3. And there were games I straight up lost because I just waylaid into everything and absolutely tore through my whole deck. Yeah. And aside from Gren Maju, this guy right here, Mr. Eater of Millions, he's essentially just another Gren in that he only gains 100 for every face-down exiled card. But again, this and the best draw card in Yu-Gi-Oh! Both exile 10 cards. Or he exiles 8. Desires is 10. And then Eater himself can exile between 5 to 15 cards from your extra deck. And you can just pop these little jerks on the field. Like, this deck is absolutely crazy in terms of just how fast it goes through everything and just how much power it throws out. Oh, and on a side note, there was one game where my Gren Maju was 7,600. So I had my Eater attack, banish their monster, and then one punch them with Gren. So yeah, really, that's kind of this deck in a nutshell is. I went with the version that played the most consistent and stupidest draw engine, and more often, and had a lot more cards to just break boards, rather than the infernal, whatever it's called version, where you're supposed to ram a monster, take 3,000, and then banish 3 Necro Faces in order to absolutely decimate your opponent's thing. If there were changes I would make, well, it'd probably be playing the Draco Knight guy for Super Poly, and maybe in terms of when I play the deck, not just throwing all caution to the wind sometimes and just steamrolling through the opponent. Because this is one of those things where you'll lose to yourself as much as you'll lose to, like, the opponent just straight up having something that your deck can't deal with. There you have it, folks. Gren Maju. This deck is insanely fun to play, and everybody needs to build it. It's kind of a giant glass cannon at points, but you know what? Ain't nothing wrong with that every now and then. If you like what you see, tell me what you think in the comments down below. And this is Meh, of Pig and Meh, signing out.